Hey guys, have you been having a good time? Yeah? Well, all morning we've been talking about NFTs and how they're disruptors. We've been talking about the music industry, gaming, art. Well, now we're going to delve a little bit deeper into Hollywood and how it's disrupting Hollywood. And you guys know the man of the hour is here. He's a trailblazer. He's a visionary. He's a New York treasure. Come on, Spike. Come on out here. We got Spike Lee. Oscar-winning filmmaker and storyteller extraordinaire. Give it up for Spike.
I can sit here with you?
Yeah, come,
right.
come have a seat. Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
How's
How about
everybody
you?
doing? Who has the best team in baseball right now? No one say the Mets.
I thought you would come out sporting some orange.
It's baseball season.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, listen, let's jump right into it. NFTs. How did you even get into this space?
I have to give credit to my grown children. My daughter Satchel, who's named after Satchel Paige, and my son Jackson. And throughout the years, they would hit me to what's happening. They still have to turn on the TV for me because I don't know all these remotes. So with music, films, and the technology, you know, they try to keep their daddy up to date, and so they started talking to me about NFTs, and I had to do my own research. And then...
And you got down into the rabbit hole, because everybody has their rabbit hole story.
Yes, but what was key, though, is that IP, intellectual property. So I thought right away, I own She's Gonna Have It, my first film.
That's right.
I created the character Mars Blackman, which got hooked up with Michael Jordan. Those commercials changed everything. So, and also, Mars is considered the original sneakerhead. So I just felt that that would be a good way to debut in NFT. And so I went to got my own 35 millimeter print of She's Gonna Have It, and went through it and picked out the frames where Mars is alone, and that's it.
And that's it. You know, what a difference this is for you versus, let's say, a Quentin Tarantino. You know, all of this comes down to owning.
Well, I didn't want to
being in
say his
control.
name, but he
Well,
didn't.
I can.
But he
I
didn't
can.
have. He didn't own it.
Right. And that's a big difference. So,
You gotta
know,
have
Isn't that
ownership.
your message to the other artists out here? Because, and for those of you who don't know, he wanted to sell an NFT based on one of his screenplays that he originally wrote, and he was sued by.
Sued.
Yeah. And so, but you own yours.
Well, I know all my films, but that's the one.
But that's one. That's one.
We shot She's Gonna Have It in the summer of 1985, from July 1st to July 14th, 2 6-day weeks. The original budget was $175,000, and it made $8.5 million at the box office. And we had a screening for investors, and that was 1986, and those individuals who invested in the film were still receiving checks more than 30 years later. You know, because they believed in me, and the rest is history. Rest is history, or her story.
Her story. Her story. Well, you know, let's talk about investing.
Right.
So, because I think that when you look at the application of NFTs, this is also a way, not only are you curating a new community, but it also gives people who wouldn't really have the opportunity to invest in, let's say, a new film that you want to do, but it gives them a piece of the pie, if you will.
Well, I haven't done that yet,
Okay.
but people are right today finance their films through NFTs.
Let's talk about that, how
Right.
that is a disruptor.
Well, the biggest barrier for any young filmmaker has been finance. Where are you going to get the money? And if your stuff is together and people believe you, and you have materials that they could see and talk to, you know, people It works. People are financing films through NFTs.
And what do you see in terms of that application moving forward?
Well, it's bringing more of a democracy to filmmaking. My generation went to film school. I went to NYU Graduate Film School. Ang Lee and I were classmates. The only reason why I went to film school wasn't to get a degree. You went to film school to get the equipment. You went to film school to get the equipment.
To be able to do your art.
The crew
Right.
was the classmates and used facilities. So it's never been about the degree. And with technology, people today are making, forget about short films, people making feature films on their iPhones. They're editing on their laptops. So technology has really brought a democracy to filmmaking. But still, you gotta have an ideal. And it's about storytelling. How are you gonna tell this story? What's unique about your story?
Tell me about what do you plan to do with, besides selling the NFT for your work, what is the bigger picture that you're thinking about down the line with your production company?
Thank you. I come from a long line of educators, my family, and I'm an educator too. I'm a tenured professor of film and for the last 20 years. I'm a tenured professor of film, and I have a Spike Lee NYU production fund where over the 20-year span, we've given not given, but have awarded students over $1.5 million to finish their feature films. But
That's great, by the way.
I've realized, though,
that deserves a round of applause.
thank you. And I'd just like to say, NYU kicks USC and AFI in the ass. But anyway, when I teach on Thursdays when I'm not shooting a film. So from like 8 to 1, I have advisements where I meet with the students. They have to sign up a sign-up sheet on my office door for half an hour. And then from 2, I have an hour for lunch, 1 to 2. From 2 to 6, we show films and talk about this. I mean, this past semester, Steven Spielberg was my guest. I didn't even tell the class.
Nice.
We had just watched Close Encounters, and so we walked in, they freaked out. The Spielberg was right there. But the students I've taught, they left NYU with $250,000 in student loans. Everybody can't afford that. So we're going to have a mechanism where we're going to fund short films with the proceeds from NFT.
The
Yeah,
NFTs.
so I'll still be teaching NYU, but there's a whole community out there that don't have the money, or they don't want to go to film school. But that doesn't mean they should be able to make films and tell their stories and be filmmakers.
I love the fact that, one, you're taking your desire to help other people, but you're also wrapping it around this new technology and NFTs and saying, okay, well, how can I push this thing that's important to me? But I also want you to speak to the other artists out there, because I think being an artist today is a lot different than when you started out. And you have to be really smart from the get-go.
If Basquiat was alive.
Right? Right?
And I met my brother. He has a great show downtown. You should check it out. Put on by his sisters. Here's the thing about, especially art. If you're an artist and you sell your painting, that's it. You're not getting no more money ever again. And with NFTs, every time it's sold.
Right. You're getting a piece of that.
Yeah,
you're writing into that smart contract.
It's like a residual check.
Right.
If you're lucky enough to be an episode of Law and Order, where they show it like 100 times a year. So you get money. And also I like to say is that I have bought NFTs and also a lot of art just from my Instagram. There are a lot of I've always felt that talent is abundance. But if you're a young artist and you're talented, how are you going to get your art out to the world? And I bought a lot of stuff. I'm repeating myself. I bought a lot of art, including NFTs, just from my Instagram and just checking to see what's out there. Right. Great stuff. Great
Curating,
artists.
keeping that community alive. Let's talk about NFTs being a disruptor in just the distribution community. Can you talk about that in film?
Well,
in the film industry?
anytime something's new, it's viewed as being disruptive. I mean, you could put a label on anything. But I think that's just is bringing, again, I use this word again, a democracy where it's not hijacked, or unless you know somebody and, you have money. When you're talking about film, that's the determining factor. Can you get the finance to make your art?
Could you talk about, for the other artists out there, we touched a little bit upon it, about ways to really think about how to maximize NFTs, but really how to maximize this whole ecosystem here. We've been talking with different people on how NFTs are disrupting even Ticketmaster. They've got, I took a note here, they talk about fan engagement, access event space, NFTs come together to unlock privileges. Do you see ways of NFTs coming together? Let's say you mentioned Steven Spielberg or Scorsese. Coming together, your NFTs come together and all of a sudden they unlock something. Like, what are some of the ways that you see, being a visionary, about where we're headed, or what are the possibilities?
Well, it's this added attraction, buy this and you get something that no one else can get. So I think that we're still in this infancy about this NFT, but also you can't pick up the paper today and read about what's happening with crypto. So no matter what you do, you have to do your research, because this thing is very volatile, and these big crypto companies are laying people off, and there was a gold rush, but the thing has collapsed upon itself. So I would say to everyone, do your due diligence, do the research, and don't bet the house. Because I don't want to see you on the street ass out.
What intrigues you the most about just this whole space right now? Specifically in the film industry. What excites you the most?
That we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Even the experts don't know what's going to happen. I find that exciting, that this a new frontier. It's a cliche, but it is true. So what's going to happen? And is it going to turn into itself, or is it just going to open up into a whole new thing? But I find it very encouraging that people are financing their films through NFTs.
Any other word of advice for the young filmmaker out there?
Learn your craft. Learn your craft. One of my favorite filmmakers is a great Japanese filmmaker, Akira Kurosawa. And in his very late stage of his life, a journalist asked him, "You were considered one of the greatest filmmakers ever, a master filmmaker. Have you learned everything you know about cinema?" And Kurosawa said, "Even at my age, there's still a universe of cinema I've yet to learn." So never get into, and this isn't, I'm just talking about everybody in the audience, never get to a place where you think that you know it all. I'm sorry. If you're really about it, it's about knowledge, education, and the last time you learn something should be right before your last breath on this God's earth.
You can applaud. You've been on the forefront for so long, really. in terms of being a storyteller. Do you now find that there are other people in your industry who are now coming to you knowing that you're now in this space, the NFT space, and how you're thinking about it? Are they saying,
Well,
Spike, you know?
Not having NFTs, but for me, it's very gratifying that when strangers will walk up to me and say how much effect my films had on a lot of black folks, did not know about historic black colleges, but they enrolled after seeing School Days, or there's a whole bunch of stuff, or they never read the autobiography of Malcolm X as told Alex Haley before they saw the film. So I really believe that artists can affect the world in a positive way and a negative way. So it just depends about what kind of artist are you.
And if there is an artist out there who says, okay, I want to be a part of your future project with the NFTs, I want some of my work funded, what do they need to do? How do they get involved with your NFT project?
Well, they are, really, you should go to my Instagram, official Spike Lee, because we're putting stuff out there, you know, as we look at the market and try to, not try, but what, like Yoda said, there's no try, do. We were gonna pick the date for the dropping of the Mars Blackman NFT.
I got to get a Mars NFT. When's the drop date?
Soon.
Soon. Okay. Be on the lookout. Make sure you get that Instagram
It's only
page
going to
up.
be a little over 3,000 too.
3,000.
Again, these are created by myself. Frames from my first film, the first Spike Lee joint. She's going to have it, a Mars Blackman, the original sneakerhead.
Oh, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. Are brands reaching out to you at this point to try to find ways to?
I just did a short film for the 50th anniversary of Nike, that we brought back Mars and a young protege named Zimmy. So that was, people got a lot of love for seeing Mars in his very late age.
You know, you are a mentor for so many, but who's your mentor in this entire space, in the NFT, blockchain, crypto space? Do you have one?
Yeah, it's got me my brother Elliot. He's the one that really, really, we've had many discussions, because I wanted to be as educated as I could be without just jumping into this not knowing what I was doing. Because you got to do your research. I feel, you know, even that comes to my art. You know, if I'm getting ready to do a movie, whether I wrote the script or not, I do research. And I tell my students all the time, I know how you just write something without doing any research. You know, you gotta have a foundation of what you're writing about. You gotta know what you're writing about.
And this certainly isn't the space where you can fake it until you make it. You gotta know.
Nah, you get exposed from the get. You know, you're faking the funk, you know, half-stepping, you know, you're exposed.
Yeah. Well, Spike, I think that we've run out of time. It's such a pleasure having you here today, and certainly being a leader in this space.
Whoa, no, let's not. Nah, I don't know. I'm not a leader, but you know,
Well,
I'm in there. I'm in there.
You're,
you know?
you're one of the early
trying
ones
to
from
get
Hollywood in there.
Trying to get in where I can fit in.
Does anybody have a question before we go? Anybody?
Do not ask me about
Yes?
the New York Knicks. We're not doing that
Go ahead.
right before the draft.
What's your question? Will the next joint be funded by NFTs? One of your next
No,
films.
no,
One
not-
of your next films.
Maybe down the line, but not right now.
Not right now, but
But
soon,
right now,
maybe.
I'm working on a documentary of Colin Kaepernick, a multi-part miniseries for ESPN. So that's what I'm right in the middle of now.
Okay, all right. One more question. Anybody else? Yes.
Not at this moment, but I'm not gonna say never. I mean, I gotta get my own thing straight first before I start collaborating.
Yes. Applicable NFTs to make
To do
social
what?
change in the world. I think this one's going to be a long answer, but I'm sure that we could figure that out down the line, right? Yes.
Whiteness? Are you saying
No,
white?
whiteness. Whiteness. A white list.
What do you mean by that white list?
Clearly, we don't know up here. Why don't you explain? Oh, the white list. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I thought you were saying something else completely different.
So
right.
so let me ask you a question. So there's people don't like there's a certain way people think about the white list.
Saying it's inappropriate. Right, and it's insensitive.
So what word do you want to replace it with?
Allow list? Hug list. Okay.
What
I
about
don't
a
know.
friends and family list?
Yeah, I like that. Friends and family. Okay, yes, right here.
That's the next question. Yes. Louder, louder.
How do you think about the future of film and NFT, the relationship? Where you film, next film will first be NFT, or your NFT will come from the film?
She's saying, well, what's first, the NFT or is it the film and then the film has the NFT? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Right. What do you think?
Films are still going to be made by the studios, by the streamers, and I think that NFTs will fit in the independent cinema
Right. In the
spectrum
independent
right
spin-off.
now.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. Yes. Radio Raheem. Raheem.
Well, I love my brother, the late Bill Nunn, too much to do that. So
No.
it's in front of my office in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. We have a mural of all the people who've passed from that film. Bill Nunn is one, Daniello the second and third, Ruby Dee, Ozzie Davis,
So many greats.
Frank Vincent. So a lot of people have passed in that film. And there will be no NFTs from that film.
Anyone else? Yes.
Well, Denzel played Malcolm in an off-Broadway play called When Chickens Come Home to Roost. And when we did that film, I was not the director. Norman Jewison was the original director. And his performance, I think, is, I know I'm biased, but I think that's one of the greatest performances ever, particularly in a biography film. And what's so hard about that film is Denzel's really playing the four different, I want to use the word versions, but four different stages of Malcolm's life. And I'm not lying, and people who are on the set could tell you this too. They'll put their hand in the Bible or the Quran or the Torah. there were scenes where we were actually seeing the reincarnation of Malcolm. I'm not lying. The hairs were
there.
standing on the back of our necks. There was this particular scene. All the speeches in the film were Malcolm's original words. So I'm standing next to my brother, the great, great Ernest Dickerson, who also was in film school, the same class as myself on NFTs-NYC. Great DP. Ernest shot all my films at NYU, then order. She's Gonna Have It, School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better, Jungle Fever, and Malcolm X was the last one. And so as I'm standing next to Ernest, and I'm looking at the script of the scene, which is Malcolm's words. And Ernest says to me, now we're shooting film. He says to me, we're about to run out. This is before digital. We're shooting 35 millimeter. And Ernest keeps telling me, Spike, we're about to roll off. I said, keep rolling. And at that point, in the scene, there's no more words. It's supposed to, but I can't call cut.
Right.
And it keeps going.
You got to keep going.
And so finally, Spike said we rolled out. So I walked up to Denzel, and his eyes had glazed over. I said, D, what was that? He said, Spike, I don't know what just happened. And he had prepared a year before we started to shoot. No more alcohol. Definitely couldn't eat pork. Learn how to read and pray. And that was a great lesson to me that there's so often, I'm not naming no names, when actors, actresses are playing a real live person, they get the makeup, their hair, their clothes, but it's superficial.
Right. That's not it.
You gotta be in a space where the spirit of that individual you're playing into, and in that moment, I knew Malcolm's spirit was in Denzel.
He was there. He did the work to get there.
You gotta, and here's the thing, no matter what you do, you gotta put the work in. And this is what I tell my students all the time, that half-stepping, lollygagging is just lazy bullshit. If you're about it, if you're serious, no matter what you do, you have to make the commitment to put the work in. Otherwise, you're just fucking around. Excuse my language. You ain't serious.
Right. Well, clearly
If you
you've
don't
been
put the work in, you're just playing. And then people around you see that, they're like, he ain't serious.
Yeah.
Why am I fucking with him? Let me finish, sir. I'm in my groove right now.
Don't mess with the groove.
People could smell spot BS. And when you're a young filmmaker, it's not you alone. You go to any book a great filmmaker's written, they talk about when they started, there was a group, a gang, and they all came together. But if people see that, you're faking it, they're not going to want to get behind you. They're not going to put in the extra mile, the more hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears, because you're not serious.
Right.
Yes, what were you going to say?
Last question.
Oh, I said no Nick question. Finish. All right, this is going to be the last question about the mighty, mighty, mighty New York Knicks. What was the question?
When? He said when.
When what? All right.
Oh.
The question is, When will my beloved New York Knicks? I gotta stand up. I gotta stand up. This is the first time I've ever been on this stage. You know, I could be doing this with the Rockets, right? No? All right. Anyway, I can remember who owns this too. Who owns Radio City? Who owns the Rangers? Who owns the Garden? All right. First, to answer your question, I got to go back. I was 13 years old. May 8th, 1970, Madison Square Garden, Game 7. I was in the motherfucker that night. Willis Reed dragged his leg out to the court. Now, Willis Reed did not come up with the rest of the team. So the Knicks on one end and the Lakers on the other were doing their warm-ups, layups. And the Lakers, which have three of the greatest players ever, Wilt Chamberlain, the late great Wilt Chamberlain, late great Elgin Baylor, and Jerry West. I've been to a lot of sport events, Yankees, World Series, Giants, kicking the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl, all that. But anyway, it's the loudest Larry Johnson's four-point play, but I've never heard a roar when Willis Reed walked on that court. The entire Laker team, doing the layups, froze. Hearing that noise, turned around and saw Willis dragging his leg to the free throw line. They gave Wilt, I think Frazier handed the ball. First two shots in practice, boom, boom. It was over. The Lakers were defeated. I was there, May of 1970. The second championship was the 72-73 season. Now I got to sit down for this. We haven't won since then.
Well, that's great. Well, Spike, you know, before we end it, you know, and I said
But I do believe.
Uh-oh. You do believe.
That one day.
One day soon?
One glorious day.
Oh, when is it coming?
I think that. I just turned 65.
Wow.
Black
Looking
don't
good,
crack.
Spike.
Black don't crack.
Right?
But I do believe that before it's my time, I might be in a wheelchair. I don't care if I'm in a stretcher. I'll be courtside.
You're
like
going to be
this.
courtside. Okay. We'll find you. We'll find you. You know, well, I have to
No,
because you're a woman, and I'm all for women. So go ahead. I'm going to take your question.
Yes.
If you had all the resources in the world, which NFT would you do with any utility? Any application whatsoever? What would it be?
I would do something for New York City.
I like that.
I'm going to be selfish. And we were just talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
You know, this we still don't know the effect the pandemic has had, not just New York City, the whole world. I mean, it's going to be 10, maybe 15 years later where we actually know how this affects us.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally,
So you would want to.
spiritually.
So you would want an NFT to kind of help move New York City along and get it back to its.
I'm really for the homeless, our homeless brothers and sisters on the street. And by brothers and sisters, I'm not trying to say black. I mean everybody. People with mental problems, you know, and this violence, you know, this.
There's a lot to fix.
We got to do something about these guns.
Yeah. That's a whole
You know,
nother
okay.
conversation.
These guns,
Yeah, we got to
but,
do something about that.
These guns, and you know, growing up in Brooklyn, look, if there was a fight, all right, somebody might get a busted lip, and the next day you were shaking hands with that person. You know, it was not no life and death stuff. And just reading the papers every day, and these are beautiful New Yorkers, no matter what their age is, race, whatever, just life snuffed out because some senseless bullshit. It's
So that would be his use, helping New York City.
Yeah.
Spike, we gotta end.
we gotta go.
We gotta go. They're kicking us out. Everyone, give Spike a round of
Wow.
applause.
Wow.
He really is a New York treasure.
Wow.
Thank you,
Spike.
Thank you.
Woohoo. Standing ovation for Spike, guys. Please. That was extended time. Thank you.
That's for me. Thank you, New York.
Do you want to introduce the next panel?
Is Brooklyn in the house? Louder. Is Brooklyn in the house?